Thanks for tuning into Howe's Things, a podcast from the David A. Howe Public Library, recorded right here in Wellsville, New York. I'm Nick Gunning. This is a special episode. This is Halloween Now 9, and I'm joined by the director of the Fred and Harriet Taylor Memorial Library, Sally Jacoby Murphy, the Queen of Halloween, Your Majesty.
Woohoo! Happy to be here.
Welcome back. I had to go and look because I'm like writing the Roman numeral for 9, and I'm like, is that true? But it is. It is true.
That is crazy. 9 years. Next year's going to be our 10th anniversary.
I know.
I don't know what that means, but
I know Eric's like not in the podcast game anymore, not in the library game anymore, but I think we have to get him back for the 10th.
Yeah, I agree. I miss that guy.
I know. Remember how he Discord bombed us last year to talk about Josh Malerman? What a minx. What a minx he is. How are you? How's your Halloween so far?
Good. Yeah. Busy, spooky season here in Hammondsport, but as always, I'm loving it. So
yeah. Here's the thing that tells me that you're truly the Queen of Halloween. We were originally going to record a different day. We decided today to do this now, and yet you are wearing your Halloween ghost sweater. It's purely accidental.
It's
just
only
the way
because
it goes.
Yeah, well, it's because I have so many Halloween clothes at this point that I really have to start like 4 weeks in advance.
Yeah.
It's really like people do Christmas season, I do Halloween season.
Oh, I know.
So any day you catch me in the next like 3
the
weeks or whatever we've got left, I will have something on. So
the odds are good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, I want to talk all things Halloween, but I want to check in with just what you're reading and watching right now. So let's open up our books and see where our bookmarks are at.
Well, I just finished Mad Honey by Jodi Picoult.
Oh, okay. I have still only read her Wonder Woman comic book. That's all I've read of Jodi Picoult. How was this?
It was great. Yeah, I thought it was super interesting. Deals a lot with like trauma, generational trauma.
Hey.
Yeah. It's I think getting a lot of press right now because one of the main characters, well, maybe this is a spoiler. Maybe I shouldn't say it. It falls into the LGBTQ category. So it's already been banned in a million places. Okay. That's how you know it's good.
Okay.
But super interesting. I think she handled it really well. I thought it was really thoughtfully written.
Okay.
I should say it's her and another author.
Oh.
And I am not giving the other author credit.
You should.
Yeah, I should. And I don't know the other author's name off the top of my head. So that's a failure.
It's Jennifer Finney Boylan is the other author.
Thank you. Thank you for saving me there.
You're welcome.
But yeah, so I just finished that. I'm about to pick up Kindred by Octavia Butler.
Okay.
I've read the comic book version, actually.
Look at you.
There's like a graphic novel.
Yeah.
But I have not read the whole book before. And so I'm pretty stoked to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm also in the middle of Vacation Land by John Hodgman, which I have been like picking up and putting down for like months now because it's sort of like being read around all my book club books and stuff like that.
Yeah. I know that vibe. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But it's great. He's hilarious. And
okay. From like the Daily Show or the Mac commercials? Is that who we're talking about? Oh, he is funny. Yeah.
Comedian, writer. Yeah. So this is like a series of sort of shorts that take place in his childhood in Massachusetts and then his time vacationing in Maine as an adult. And he's just so funny and witty.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. He has a podcast too. I haven't listened to much of it, but like I always enjoy his style. So yeah, that's good.
I've listened to a bit of his podcast. You would like it. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard him on another thing that I was like, oh, maybe I should. Actually, it was Justin Long. Justin Long has a podcast, and Justin Long was the Mac to John Hodgman's PC. Yeah. And so they did the little episode together, which was fun. But
that's fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
I
told my brother, he kind of reminds me of my brother. So shout out to him.
I could see that. Your brother has that very droll delivery, of everything. Yes, hello. Yes. I finished a book, speaking of generational trauma, I finished a book called Tell Me Everything by Minka Kelly. Do you know Minka Kelly from like Friday Night Lights or Titans? You don't know Titans.
Oh, I mean, I do know who you're talking about, but I didn't realize that she wrote.
Yeah, well, it's a memoir. It's just like her own personal story, which I knew nothing about. But I'd been in kind of a memoir zone, and it popped up on Libby, and I was like, let's do it. And boy, what a what a wild ride. Like the things that she's overcome and like the trauma that was her childhood was it was kind of a tough read in places, but told in retrospect, so there's kind of a silver lining, that ultimately there's a semblance of a happy ending, but still a powerful book, and it surprised me because I just didn't know anything about it.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I
Never
like
knew
that
that.
quite a bit. I listened to the audiobook of that and she reads it, so that's always a bonus,
I always like that when the
Yeah,
author
I do
reads
too.
it.
I do
Good
too.
stuff.
Although Tim Curry reads the series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket, and I don't know where it was, but like book 4 or 5 or something, Lemony Snicket, Daniel Handler, decided he wanted to read them himself, and so he takes over, and
Oh,
ooh,
no.
what a downgrade. I mean, I wouldn't want to follow Tim Curry in
No.
literally anything,
No.
but especially when it's just a vocal thing. That was the one time where I was like, no, this is weird. This is weird.
Yeah.
Are you a Michael Crichton fan?
Yeah.
Have you read Crichton books?
I mean, I've read Jurassic Park.
Okay.
That might be the only one.
Well, my Michael Crichton reading is so weird and sporadic, but I've read Jurassic Park and I read a bunch of the posthumous ones, and that's what I picked up this time. It's Andromeda Revolution. So I read the Andromeda Strain. The Andromeda Strain was actually the first book club I led here at the David A. Howe Public Library, like right in my first couple of months on the job. But the Andromeda Evolution is not like a fragment of a Crichton thing. It's just sort of like the Crichton verse. It's written by Daniel H. Wilson. And do you know much about the Andromeda Strain, the book or the movie? Okay, I think you'd enjoy the movie. It's very, I don't know, it's of its time, but it kind of holds up in a weird, interesting way. But the basic premise is the Andromeda Strain is this sickness, they don't know what it is, and it wipes out a whole town except for an old man and a baby, and they're like, what the heck? These two have nothing in common. Why are they both surviving? And so that's kind of the story of the book. Them trying to deal with a whole dead town, try to figure out what these two people have in common, how they can stop the spread of the Andromeda Strain. It's very science heavy. It's intense. It reads like nonfiction. The Andromeda Evolution picks up, a generation later, and now they're picking up some signs that a new Andromeda Strain is forming, and it really expands and goes in a different direction and kind of fundamentally changes what was going down with the original Andromeda Strain, but in a way that kind of works. I mean, it does feel like an evolution, Sally, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I think if you're like a Crichton aficionado and somebody put this in front of you, you wouldn't be like, of course, this is a book written by Michael Crichton. But I think it gets the spirit right, and I think like if you know what you're going into, you could make the transition pretty easy. I liked it. I'd recommend it.
I mean, it sounds interesting, and I do love that kind of like hypothetical, post-apocalyptic or nearing apocalyptic literature.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's good. And the original uses graphs and like scientific imagery to the extreme, and this did a little of that, but the balance was kind of better. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was cool. Did you hear this news about Michael Crichton and who's dead, by the way? That we need to just put that out there. Michael Crichton is long dead. But there's some book that he'd started on that was about Hawaii, and his widow Sherry Crichton has been like the one who's kind of pushing forward, things he had left, sanctioning things like the Andromeda Evolution. But she's taking this partial novel, and James Patterson is finishing it. Is that like the weirdest combination of people? Like Michael Crichton and James, I can't even pick people more like different in their writing styles. It's so weird.
Also, I could have sworn that James Patterson is not actually writing a single word anymore. I mean, if I had to take an author and be like, I bet he's got minions.
Yeah, he definitely has minions. I don't know. He's still the sole credit on the Alex Cross series, and the other ones, like I've read a scattering of the other ones, and they do feel like James Patterson books. So he's got some involvement, or somebody does, because they do have something in line. Last Halloween you were just reading that Dolly Parton James Patterson. Did you read that? Did you actually do it?
Shoot, which one was it? Oh, nope. No, I did.
You did.
Sorry, I was confused for a second because I also read a Dolly Parton memoir around the same time.
Okay,
I'm not sure if I had read it yet, which one I read first, but yes, I did read that, and it was okay.
Well,
I liked bits of it, but I feel like it was kind of a watered down version of Dolly's life, and I was
I
like,
think
well,
that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I never even bothered. I picked up the one that he wrote with Bill Clinton. And I listened to a little bit of the audiobook, which was read by Dennis Quaid, and it was just so funny. It was just like super sexy president wanted by all women. He's also an action hero. And I'm like, wow.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Come on, Bill.
Okay. All right. I did not ever look at that Hillary Clinton Louise Penny book.
No, I'm not against it, and I would potentially read it. It was out here like wildfire in Hammondsport.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, its demographic is the demographic of Hammondsport, I will say that.
Perfect. I mean, people love Louise Penny. I know that it was like kind of similar in that it was like super cool, super smart Secretary of State, on official business. Pew pew, so.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anything else on your reading or watching list as of late?
I mean, I've been going down just like rewatching all of these.
Oh my gosh. Let's talk about
it. Just like there's been a slew of like church documentaries coming out recently.
Oh, okay.
Like of all different like this is nothing against church at large, by the way. If people have happy churches, that is wonderful for them.
Disclaimer.
These are churches that have gone too far into cult realm. And now they're just like all getting sort of exposed in these docu-series. And so there's like the one on Jerry Falwell. There's the Duggar documentary, Happy Smiley People, the Way Down Workshop, all of the Hillsong, the Mega Church Exposed, like all of these things. And I'm eating it up.
Wow.
Eating it up. And so I've watched each of them at least like twice by now. Some of them
I
probably
feel like
4 or 5 times.
You wouldn't have to change almost anything about what you said to tell me that this was like a new genre of horror that you were into, because I feel like the transition it's so slim,
Yeah. It's very similar, I would say. Big overlap. And I would probably say big overlap in people like me that are into them.
Yeah, probably so. They're just trying to make church great again, Sally. Come on.
It's crazy stuff. I mean, and it's very interesting. And they're all very good. I really will say that. And they sort of got me into a new genre of podcasts that I've been listening to, which is scam-related podcasts.
Do you listen to Scam Goddess? Do you listen to Scam Goddess with Lacey Mosley? I love Scam Goddess.
Me too. Oh my gosh, she's addicting to listen to. She's so funny.
I don't even care about the scams. I just want to hear. Yeah. No, I mean, I do care about the scams. So that's one of my favorite podcasts.
Yeah, no, she's fabulous. So that one, Scamanda, which is like a investigative journalism one, so it's only like 8 episodes. Super interesting. About Amanda what's her name? Amanda something. And she was a big like cancer influencer, so she's had cancer and stuff. And this is not a spoiler because you go in at the very beginning knowing she never has cancer, but it's a 20-year scam basically that she runs.
That's a long con right there.
Yeah, and it's like through different communities and stuff, so it's a really interesting podcast. And then Scamfluencers with Sachi Cole and Sarah Hagee. But so I've been super into the whole like world, and I think that's a pretty big Venn diagram of like scams and these particular like mega churches that are scams.
Now be careful, because as listeners might recall, you once crashed your car while listening to the All the Book show.
That's true.
So you don't want to get distracted. Episode. The Batman episode.
I'll never forget.
Yeah, good. I hope you learned about Batman because of that.
It's forever in my mind.
Okay. I mean, my watching, I feel like, is very vanilla compared to all these like weird rabbit holes you're going down. But I'll tell you anyway. My wife and I started watching Starstruck on Max. It's a sitcom about this woman who has like a fling with this guy, and then it turns out that he is like a huge movie star, and she just like didn't realize it. And then it's kind of about them sort of like, will they, won't they get together, and they almost do, and then it's like, oh, his fame gets in the way, or there's some misunderstanding with an article she reads about it's very like even and balanced, like which one of them is like at fault for keeping them apart. It's very classic rom-com, and I'm here for it.
That sounds delightful.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be my post-Halloween chill down.
It's good. It looks like it's 3 seasons. We're in the midst of season 1 right now. I'm watching Loki. I know you don't really care about the Marvel shows. But I do feel like if there was ever one that you'd care about, it might be Loki, because it's Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson, just sort of buddy copping through time. I don't know. It's a good amount of like sci-fi and twists and things. I could see you getting into it, but I wasn't super into season 1, and something about season 2 coming out, I was like, I got to give this show a chance. And I've been liking it, and I'm up to date. Ki-Hoo Kwan is in season 2, and he's just one of those actors who makes everything better. So,
nice.
It's a good time. Have you watched the Frasier reboot?
Just clips of it, a few things have floated across my Facebook, and I do watch them when they come across. I'm curious.
Yeah.
I love Frasier, so but I think it's that like balance of like, I just don't think it'll be that good, but maybe they'll prove me wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you?
Yes. At our time of recording, 2 episodes are out, and I did watch them. Okay. My wife and I are actually, she's never seen Cheers, and I grew up watching Cheers, So we've been watching through Cheers, and so I was like, well, I don't want you to watch Frasier because I feel like it's going to spoil stuff about Cheers, so just forget it, because the new show's set in Boston.
Oh, I didn't realize.
I watched it alone, and there's a lot of stuff that feels very dated. Like Kelsey Grammer walks out and there's just all this canned applause and everything. And it's like, I don't know that we're still doing laugh tracks, but okay. I think the thing that really saves it is Kelsey Grammer's just still got it. It doesn't, I was worried that it would just be like Kelsey Grammer up there pretending to be Frasier, but it really does feel like Frasier. And I'll watch these 10 episodes,
Yeah. I mean, I'm not against giving it a shot because I mean, Frasier is great.
When they announced it, I was like, bad idea. And then when it was, as the closer it got, I was kind of excited to watch it. And I still think they shouldn't do it. Like, you're just not going to top what it was,
Right.
So it's a weird move. And like the Murphy Brown, which I love Murphy Brown, but that Murphy Brown reboot they did was just excruciating. So I don't think Frasier's going to embarrass itself. It's just like, do we need it? No. But is it fun? Yes.
Gotcha. Oh, that's good. Is Kelsey Grammer the only returning cast member, or are there others?
Yeah, so the basic premise is that he comes to Boston where his son lives, and then Niles and Daphne's son is going to college at Harvard, maybe. And so there's like family and stuff in it, and it's kind of like, what the original was like Fussy Frasier and his like man's man dad, and now it's like Fussy Frasier and his like man's man son. So, that's kind of what we're doing. But I know that at least Roz and Lilith are supposed to show up at some point.
Nice.
So,
well, that's fun.
Yeah, so we'll see. My true obsession right now, Sally, is the morning show on Apple. Have you watched this at all?
No.
It's so good. It's so good. John Hamm and Juliana Margulies are regulars in 3, and I love both of them.
Yeah.
And I don't know, season 3 is just like really knocking it out of the park. It's good. I think you'd enjoy it.
I will have to watch this. What's it on?
You will. It's Apple.
Apple. This is the problem. There's so many good shows on Apple right now, and I just need to do it. I just need to get it.
Just get it for a couple months so you can watch like Severance and The After Party and Foundation and
what's the one, Ted or something?
Yeah, Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso.
Yeah, Ted Lasso. Sure. Yeah,
it's a feel-good kind of show. Yeah.
So many.
Ted Lasso, I feel like the way it hit in 2020 when everybody was just like, or maybe it was even sooner. It was when we were all depressed because of the world. Not that that's, I mean, it's only slightly better, but it was like when we were all really, truly in the pits. And Ted Lasso is like the most optimistic show that's ever existed. And it was just like being slapped across the face with sunshine. So,
yeah, we all need that sometimes.
Yeah, I think so. That makes sense.
I will. One last TV thing though. Have you seen the other 2 yet?
Yes.
You might like that.
Yes. Yes. We really poured through that, and I was so sad when it ended because I loved it. It was hilarious.
Pretty brilliant.
Season 3 is a little wonky, but I did really liked it overall.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if that's it for Bookmark, let's get into some book news. Though actually, the book news today is going to be an award. Sally, I wish to regale you with the winners of the 2023 Bram Stoker Awards. They are as follows. Okay, Best Screenplay went to The Black Phone. This is a Blumhouse production. Scott Derrickson, C. Robert Cargill. Were you not watching this? I feel like we talked about this last year.
Yeah, it came out last year. It's great. Yeah. That was one of my favorites from 2022.
Okay, it looks like we have a tie. It's that and Stranger Things Season 4, Episode 1, The Hellfire Club. It was not about Season 4 of Stranger Things. That didn't really do it for me. So,
I mean, Hellfire Club definitely was the best part about it, I think. But
yeah, I just felt like it was a weak season. But anyway, graphic novel. The winner goes to Kolchak the Night Stalker, 50th anniversary. Wow, I never even saw that show. Did you see that? Was that 60s, 70s?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. Winner for nonfiction, Writing in the Dark, the Workbook by Tim Wagner. You read a lot of nonfiction horror stuff about horror?
Not a lot, I would say. I do watch a lot of documentaries about horror.
Yes. Yeah.
But I don't read a lot about it, although I have gotten into a few things. Like one of my favorite nonfiction collections is Women in Chainsaws.
Okay.
And so do read occasionally when stuff floats across. Usually my dad pushes it my way.
Yeah. One of the nominees for anthology, didn't win, was Chromophobia, a Strange House anthology of women in horror. That
sounds right up my alley.
Yes, but the winner was Screams from the Dark, 29 Tales of Monsters and the Monstrous by Ellen Datlow. Best collection went to Breakable Things by Cassandra Kaw. Best short went to Fracture by Mercedes Yardley. This was collected in Mother, Tales of Love and Terror.
Interesting.
Best long fiction, The Werewolf by Alma Katsu. Best middle grade novel went to They Stole Our Hearts. They Stole Our Hearts. This is book 2 of the Teddies saga, the heart-pounding sequel to They Threw Us Away, about a group of teddy bears looking for a place to call home and answers to life's biggest questions. It's a unsettling cover, I'll tell you that. One of the nominees here for middle grade, This Appearing House by Ali Malenko, I'm currently reading. That's one of my Halloween reads this year, so yeah.
Nice.
Best young adult novel went to The Triangle by Robert P. Ottone. Born with a gift for engineering and technology, Aslan and her father Merrill spend their days running a small shop in the flotilla community of Coral Cove. They scavenge shipwrecks, sunken vessels, and what precious little remains of the world before the planet drowned. With their best friend Ellis, they do their best to support their community while struggling to survive. When a group of scouts sent by the Order, a mysterious and powerful northeastern cabal, goes missing in the nearby Bermuda Triangle, Merrill is tasked with finding them. Unbeknownst to him, Aslan and Ellis have snuck aboard to join on the mission to find out what lurks within the triangle. The ancient cosmic truths they discover may be more terrifying than they imagine. Do you feel terrified, Sally?
I feel mildly concerned.
Okay. That's perfectly fair. Let's see. Best first novel went to Beulah by Christy Nogle. Okay, here you go. Beulah is the story of Georgie, an 18-year-old with a talent or affliction for seeing ghosts. Georgie and her family have had a hard time since her father died, but she and her mother Gina and sisters Tommy and Stevie are making a new start in the small town of Beulah, Idaho, where Gina's wealthy friend Ellen has set them up to help renovate an old stone schoolhouse right there. Of course, there's going to be ghosts. Georgie experiences a variety of disturbances. The town is a familiar from dreams, and she seems to be experiencing her mother's memory of the place, not to mention the creepy ghost in the schoolhouse basement. Sally, you had a creepy ghost in your schoolhouse basement.
It's true. Yeah, Fillmore Central School.
But she's able to maintain in her own laconic way until she notices that her little sister Stevie also has the gift. Stevie is in danger from a malevolent ghost, and Georgie tries to help. But soon, Georgie's the one in danger. That sounds kind of fun to me. I like this. I like the sound of this one.
Yeah.
This was best first novel. Here it goes. The winner for the novel of the year for the Stoker Awards, The Devil Takes You Home by Gabino Iglesias. Here, Sally, is your synopsis. From Bram Stoker, Anthony, and Locus Award-nominated author Gabino Iglesias comes a genre-defying thriller about a father desperate to salvage what's left of his family, even if it means a descent into violence, both supernatural and of our own terrifying world. Dun dun. I see one of the nominees here is Style by Catriona Ward. Have you read anything by her?
I don't think so.
Okay. I just did, and we can talk about it as we roll into our Halloween spotlight.
Excellent.
So the one I read by her is called Looking Glass Sound by Catriona Ward. And this was such a weird book. It starts very straightforward. It's like these kids, the teens, kind of go out to this it feels like New England-y kind of town, like, where they're right on a harbor. And there's this whole thing about like this man breaking into, or they don't know, somebody breaking in and taking pictures of sleeping kids. And then there's a whole thing with like women disappearing in the lake. And it seems like it's just a very like, sort of classic spooky stuff is going on. And these teens in a harbor town have to solve. But as it goes, we do like a big time jump, and then it's sort of like the characters are writing about it. So sometimes what you're reading is not the actual narrative, but it's one of the characters' like novel or memoir of what happened. And so like they change tone as far as like, is it first person, is it third? They change genders of characters. So they change, like there's kind of a love triangle, and sometimes it's like it switches who's in love with whom based on whose version of the story you read. So by the end of it, it's like there's so much going on that you have to be like, okay, well, that wasn't true. That was just in the person's novel. And this was that person's memoir, which differs from the other thing. So there's like so many moving parts that it kind of stopped being scary at some point. Like it stopped feeling like foreboding or menacing because I feel like I was spending so much time trying to keep it all straight in my head.
Like in a good way or a bad way? Like you felt like it wasn't successful, or you feel like that made it more interesting?
Maybe it's just me. I felt like I understood it all, but the effort it took to kind of get there was maybe a little too much. I think I had to keep kind of pulling back and being like, right, so that character is this and that is this. So I don't know, maybe somebody would just soak it up like a sponge and it would feel all right. But by the end of it, I felt very distant from the events taking place, and it didn't leave much of an impact in that way. But it was I'd never read anything like it. I thought it was so clever, and the parts I liked, I really liked. So it's like maybe not a great start for this author, but one that I'll like add to my list of authors that I look for,
Yeah. No, I mean, it actually sounds really interesting. I feel like even with those caveats, I would still like be intrigued by it.
Looking
for
Glass
that reason.
Sound. You can check it out right here at the David A. Howe Public Library.
Yeah, you can't check it out from Hammondsport, but I can get it from
you. Could put a hold on it. Yeah, put a hold on it at Hammondsport.
Yeah.
Sure. Eric and I read the Tommyknockers. Eric and I have been reading a Star Trek. Eric and I have been reading a Stephen King book together for so long, and the Tommyknockers was. We thought Cujo was like the last of the early books that we hadn't read, but Tommyknockers was in there, and it kind of has a reputation for being bad, and that reputation is correct. It's not a good book. It's just sloppy and meaningless. And normally, when Eric and I both read a book, we really kind of pull at different things, and there's things he likes that I don't. But we were like 100% on the same page, where it's like, this is just a poorly written book, And Stephen King also kind of agrees. Like in later interviews, he's like, I wish I could rewrite that,
Yeah.
Because it does.
I bet there's quite a few Stephen King would like to rewrite.
Yeah. I mean, it does have something at its core, that does feel right. But it just didn't work. All right, so what are you reading?
Well, for spooky stuff, I'm doing, our library is partnering with the Finger Lakes Boating Museum to do a spooky walk. So we're calling it the Legends and Lore Mystery Haunted Tour. And so I've been reading a lot of short stories in preparation for that. So a lot of like haunted Finger Lakes, haunted Keuka Lake kind of stuff.
Okay.
So that's been fun. So like local legends, some of them are about like haunted buildings or ghosts that are around the area. And then others are like legends of Keuka Lake and stuff like that. So
that
that's
sounds cool. Yeah.
And then I also have been reading your girl Amanda Warmer, who came to.
She was just here.
Yes, and I went. So I couldn't come this year, but I went last year.
Yeah.
And I got a bunch of her books, and I had read like a little bit of. So I bought like 7 of her books.
I know you were like, yeah, you were like
I was a big fan.
2 big bags. Yeah.
So I read like a little bit of them last year because she has this, it's like a compilation, it's a women's journal called The Feminine Macabre, and there's a bunch of different volumes of it. So I had read one last year, and I've been reading through a second one this year.
Okay.
Which they're just fun because they're all different. Sometimes they're sort of like investigative pieces where they have photos of haunted areas and stuff like that. And then others it's like legends. Some of them are made up, some of them are, based in fact. And then A Haunted Atlas of Western New York, I was reading through, and I was shocked to see Alfred State College.
Sally.
Mackenzie West, where I was the residence hall director.
Oh my gosh.
Made this book. So
wow.
That was like one of my favorite things in the world.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. So I've been enjoying those because she's a very like direct writer.
Yeah.
And so I like this like very short, succinct, direct, like no nonsense, no frills, no like some people say this and some people say this. And so it's like easy to like pick it up, read 5 of them and put it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I've enjoyed.
People love it when she's here. Like the response to her coming is always great. So
yeah. I mean, she's a good speaker too, so that helps.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I have to have some Archie comics every Halloween. It's the law of the land. So I read Archie's and Friends Ghost Stories, and it was fun. They were all Archie ghost stories, and that was fun, and they were spooky. But I'm reading one called Sabrina, Something Wicked This Way Comes by Kelly Thompson. This is the second of Kelly Thompson's Sabrina books, and the first one was great. It's not connected to like Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, like the comics or the show. It's it feels like a more classic kind of 60s take on Sabrina, but it's obviously like a little bit more serious and but they're spooky and they look great. And I loved that first volume, so I was really excited to find the second one. So those are my Archie reads this year, and I'm having a good time with them.
Nice.
What's on your watch list?
So many things.
Oh my gosh.
I had to write them all down so that I would make sure I didn't lose anything. Well, so for TV shows, it's a little bit slimmer this year.
Okay.
I just rewatched Bly Manor with my wife.
Okay.
She was meh on it, and I feel like my second time watching it, I was a little more meh on it, which is unfortunate.
Of the two, Bly Manor was definitely the one that left me a little bit more like whatever.
Yeah, exactly, which is unfortunate.
And you didn't like Midnight Mass, as I recall. You didn't really.
I didn't.
Have you tried?
But I'm gonna give it a second chance.
Oh, you are? Okay.
So Sarah wants to. That's my wife. She wants to watch that, and then we're gonna watch The Fall of the House of Usher, which just came out.
Yeah.
I have great hopes for The Fall of the House of Usher.
Yeah, I want to see that.
I feel like I'd rather just watch them in order with her. So we're gonna do Midnight Mass next, I think.
That's cool. I never watched Midnight Mass, so maybe I need to do that too. Speaking of Mike Flanagan, did you ever watch Dr. Sleep, or is this my annual plea to suggest Dr. Sleep to you? Annual plea. Annual plea. Okay. Well, I think you'll find it interesting. But anyway, continue.
One day, Nick.
Yeah, one of these days.
So I went back and I went back and caught up on some of my American Horror Story. So I watched double feature, which is the Providencetown one, and it was okay. I always like the cast. I think the cast is so stellar for those. But the later seasons are just so much weaker than the earlier seasons.
Makes sense.
But it was, they're doing this new thing, American Horror Stories. I probably talked about it last year because they're in their like 3rd or 4th season now.
Wow.
But that came out. They're still solid, I think. I think that format works a little bit better now.
Okay.
So they're one-off episodes that are just like horror shorts.
Oh, okay.
And I like
kind of
those.
Fun. Yeah.
And then Sarah has been getting into this show called Love, Death, and Robots.
Oh.
Which, if Eric were here, he'd probably argue about whether or not that fits into the horror world. But I'll tell you, I've watched a few of them with her, and there's a lot of
count it.
horror. I mean, some of them are funnier and lean more into like the robots thing, but then others are definitely in the horror genre. So those are kind of fun. Actually, my brother Ben and Sarah are having a like competition, and they're ranking all of them in like a giant spreadsheet that they're doing, because they're only like 5 to 15 minutes long.
Yeah.
There's 3 seasons of it on
That's
Netflix.
Fun.
So those are my TV shows.
Okay. I watched one called 1899 on Netflix, and I think that you could argue. I thought it was going to be more horror than it actually was, but I went into it as a spooky thing, so I'm going to count it anyway. And it's basically these people on this ship that's doing like a transatlantic thing in 1899, and their sister ship had like gone missing, and they start getting a signal from this other ship, and they go and find it, and it's just like completely abandoned, and it looks like it's been through the ringer, and all they find on the ship is this is a spoiler. It's like first episode, but if you don't want to know anything, you could just jump ahead 5 seconds. But just so you know what we're dealing with, they hear some banging from a cabinet in like the ballroom, and they open it up, and there's just a little boy.
Intriguing.
And that's all you get. So it was good. I think it maintained throughout. It was always had kind of a creepy air and what's going on and everything. Hard to end a show like that to fully satisfy you, I think, because the mystery is always going to be better than the resolution. And I think it falls a little bit into that, but definitely worth a watch. I liked it a lot.
Nice.
And then I'm watching Mayfair Witches.
Ah, yes.
Based on the Anne Rice books. Have you seen this at all?
I have not, but it is on my list. Yeah. I've never actually read an Anne Rice book.
Me neither.
But
my brother loved the vampire books, but I haven't never read them.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of infamous, like, classics in the horror world. When I was 8, I picked up a book on tape of Anne Rice and joyfully brought it back to my house to listen to, and my parents found it before I could listen to it, so I
And they
never
said
got to listen to
no?
it.
Jeez.
Said no. They said, "That's too sexy for an
Oh,
8-year-old,"
well,
which, to be fair,
probably
they were probably
correct.
right.
Probably correct about the sexiness for sure. Yeah, but it's an 8-episode season, so we're like right in the middle of it so far. It's a good cast. And I'm intrigued. I'm interested to see where it goes. But that's
Nice.
and I want to get to House of Usher. I'm hoping to do that before.
Yeah.
My movie watching has not been great, Sally. I made my son and my wife, but mostly for my son, rewatch Escape to Witch Mountain, which is a classic Disney.
Yeah.
Not actually creepy, not really a scary movie. The witch name is kind of a misnomer, but it always, in my mind, like watching that as a kid, I always thought it was spooky, so it still kind of counted that way. So we watched that, and I watched, never seen this before, but I watched Ghostbusters.
You've never seen Ghostbusters?
Never.
That's insane.
I don't think I was allowed, like when I was a kid, I don't think I was allowed to watch it because it's like ghosts, and I just never did, even though, I love Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd, the whole cast. It's a stacked cast.
Yeah.
Annie Potts, like everybody's great in it.
Well, and I feel like that's like your jam is like 80s camp kind of stuff.
I know.
Man.
I know. I don't know. I can't explain myself. But we finally just did it. Not as many ghosts as I was hoping. I gotta say, I wanted more ghosts. Very little busting. Very, very few ghosts. But I did love it. I mean, I thought they were all great. The whole I don't know, like the gargoyles and the like other realm and like demony stuff. Like I was fully in for like Slimer and the library ghost, but you don't get much beyond that. So
yeah, no, that's true.
How is 2?
Are you gonna watch the remake? Yeah, it's okay.
Okay,
I mean, it's fine.
Okay.
I want it to be better. I mean, good comedians, but
did you watch Afterlife, the more recent one that kind of continues that?
No.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen it either. I actually did watch the reboot. I think we saw that in theaters when it came out.
Gotcha.
So up until this point, that was my only reference to Ghostbusters.
Weird.
I feel like that movie gets a bum rap. I thought it was good. I liked it. Do you like it?
I mean, I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
I feel like it wasn't amazing.
Yeah, you're definitely damning it with faint praise, but it's okay. And then finally, because of But Have You Tried? So here we are on the How's Things feed, but over on But Have You Tried, the new podcast from the David A. Howe Library, I've challenged my co-host, Allie Fesmeyer, to watch The Others, which she's never seen. And Sally and I are going to school her on all things The Others. So I did rewatch that, but I also rewatched that writer-director's other movie, Regression, with Emma Watson and Ethan Hawke. And it's sort of playing on the idea of like the satanic panic, and it's sort of like a possession kind of thing. It doesn't work. No. It's not really scary ever, and it just, The Others is so tight, which we'll get into in But Have You Tried, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but it's just so tight and well structured. Then Regression is just kind of like, so I don't know.
Unfortunate.
I know, but that's where I'm at. We still have time to watch more, and I do intend to watch more, but that's where I'm at our time of recording. What else have you done?
Well, so for movies, I feel like I always get into movies in spooky season. I mean, I love a good horror TV show, but movies are still my bread and butter. So I've watched quite a few. I mean, so for documentaries, there's one that just came out called Monster Inside, which is on Russ McCanny, because he's infamous for running these extreme horror houses.
Oh.
But they're borderline torture houses. And so it's an interesting documentary because it basically goes into sort of the psychological trauma that he's caused in these.
Sure.
But then it talks about people who do this well and don't cause lasting trauma, and then the unregulation of them and how this can be like a potentially harmful thing. But it's an interesting movie. So that's on Hulu. But then I've also watched Gone in the Night with Winona Ryder.
Oh, I wanted to see that. Was it good, Gone in the Night?
It was. It didn't get stellar reviews. It got like kind of mediocre reviews, but I really enjoyed it. And I think you could definitely handle it. I mean, it's eerie, but it's not like horror.
I'm going to do it.
And I think Winona's great in that role. I think I'm glad she's back.
Yes.
Yeah. So I liked it. Infinity Pool with Mia Goth, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
I recently heard somebody say that Mia Goth is the 2020s answer to Shelley Duvall, and that seems accurate so far. No One Will Save You. It's a fun alien flick. The Tank.
Okay.
Cobweb with Lizzie Kaplan.
I love Lizzie Kaplan. How
I do too. I love Lizzie Kaplan. So we watched this because it promised us not only horror but sort of Halloween vibes, which we know is not necessarily always the same thing.
True.
It did deliver on that. Some really beautifully shot, sort of muted tones, big pumpkins growing in a backyard, like old school creepy house kind of vibes. Loved all of that. I love Lizzie Kaplan in this role. She's phenomenal and like kind of made to be this sort of like other mother kind of character.
Okay.
But it's got a weird twist, and I feel like it's two different movies. I want the first half of this movie to be one movie, and I want this monster that emerges to be the second movie. And I'm not going to spoil it for you. I think it's still worth a watch.
Okay.
But just know that you're going to be like in two different movies.
Okay.
It is creepy though, I will tell you.
Okay.
I did so I watched Megan. I mean, that was a couple of months ago, but
yeah.
If you're gay, you got to watch Megan. That's my understanding.
That's like the law. Okay.
Yeah. And then Knock on the Cabin Door, or Knock on the Cabin. Isn't that? Yeah. Shyamalan movie about the end of the world.
Right. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of interesting. You know, it's not as good as like classic Shyamalan before he had his like but I would say this one, you know, he's got my interest.
Okay.
So
I did like Old. Did you like Old?
I liked Old too. I mean, so Old, I would say I like this one slightly better than I like Old.
Okay. All right.
But I did like Old.
Yeah,
I actually bought the graphic novel after that movie because I was interested. It's like a French graphic novel. I mean, I didn't read it in French.
Yeah.
But it's a good graphic novel too.
Okay.
And then I've rewatched the Saw series and the Final Destination series in the last few days, just to get some classic stuff in there.
Yes.
Yeah. I still have a long list to go though. I still want to see Skinamarink, Talk to Me, Cursora, The Blackening, that looks hilarious.
That does look funny.
Influencer, Attachment, Slaughterhouse, about a college girl who adopts a sloth that murders a bunch of people.
Huh. That's a unique premise. Okay.
Yes. So I don't know. It's like I feel like last year was like such a good year for horror that anything beyond that feels a little disappointing. But I still think that this is a strong year. So I'm pretty excited.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna I'm gonna add Cobweb and Gone in the Night to my list of things to watch this season, and House of Usher, of course. I want to watch.
Yeah.
All of these things. Okay. Well, that's pretty exciting. Sally, this is technically the first of our Halloween podcasts together, and there's so much more to come, and I'm going to do a rundown. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. The Queen of Halloween is making her first stop here. Next, you can listen to her over on But Have You Tried, right here on the David A. Howe Public Library. So if you're listening in the feed here for How's Things, we'll drop it right here. If you're listening on YouTube, you got to go find it over on But Have You Tried, and subscribe to that podcast while you're at it. But we're going to be talking about the others. Then Sally's going to join me over on 9021 Here We Go, where Sally, Kendra, and I are going to be talking about the 2014 Brian Austin Green film, Don't Blink. No spoilers, Sally, but you've seen this before?
I have, yes.
I have not watched it, so we'll see if it's fun. My hope is that it's fun. Okay.
I mean,
then finally, we're going to watch Ewok Hunt for This Endorian Life. It's a fan-made film about basically Ewoks Blair Witch style, right? Is that more or less?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
It's good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm also reading in the press that you're also going to be on Previously on X-Men, covering some spooky X-Men comics too.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
That's where I dip my toe furthest out of my realm.
Yeah.
And get into comic book realm, and I enjoy it because it's always fun.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So let's just to recap. So how's things? But have you tried? 9021 Here We Go. Previously on X-Men and This Endorian Life. 5.
I need to hold my pencil. I have 5 fingers up.
5 Halloween podcasts for you. That's pretty impressive.
I'm really like, I don't know how I made it here. I don't know.
You don't know how you made it here?
World.
On any given day, on any given day, you could be dressed like Halloween. That's what you said earlier. That's how you made it here. By sheer force of will. Next,
I'm just so grateful.
I know, and you deliver. That's the thing, every time. Every time. Originally planned for the feed and our next How's Things special was going to be with Sarah Jacoby Murphy for Dooney Trace, but they moved the Dune movie, so now we have to move the episode because we can't watch it now. So
that is a bummer. So when is the new Dune movie coming out then?
Well, it was supposed to be like now, and I think it's like February. It's in 2024. Who knows? The writers' strike kind of pushed everything around.
Yeah.
So the next thing here for How's Things will be our Christmas special, which is coming up in December. My friend Bo Hutchings is going to be back for Cozy Bros 4, and we're going to be reading some cheesy Christmas books. Always fun to have Bo on the pod.
I love it.
All right, so remember, get out your Sally Halloween bingo card and follow her through all of the episodes. It's going to be a good time. All right, Sally. Well, as always, thanks for Halloween podcasting with me.
Thanks for having me. I always love it.
I will see you on But Have You Tried?
Woohoo!